started on Relive that very day I learned about it. It was the great thing for her. She actually graduated with in 3.5 years with a major and 2 minors, and she just had clarity of mind, and it helped her so much with her schooling and her thinking, and she was very grateful for it, and so were we. She's gone on and got married and has actually had help with endometriosis, and we have now 2 grandbabies and are grateful for Relive and how it helped her life. About 3 weeks after my daughter started the product, we went out to Utah and we were visiting, and I decided to go to a presentation out there, and I was so impressed with the integrity of this company and the research and development that go into our products that I came in at the very highest profit level, wanting the very best deal, and I started taking the products myself. And like I said, I really didn't expect any results, but to trade in 25 to 30 supplements a day for 2 shakes a day, I was excited to give it a try and just hopefully stay as healthy as I had been. Well, in a few months, it got very exciting because I had asthma, but I started these Relive products and I didn't need my inhaler anymore. That was my husband's favorite result because he was the one that had taken me to the hospital several times wondering if I was going to come out alive. So that was my very first result. My next result was I had what was called mitral valve prolapse. When my heart valves wasn't functioning properly, the doctor said I would die with that. And I had an ultrasound of my heart, and my heart is functioning properly. That was very exciting. My knees were so bad, my orthopedic surgeon said I needed to buy a house with everything on one floor. I was literally pulling myself up steps, and added the Artheffect, which is one of our products that helps with joints and knees, and actually running up downstairs, didn't need any surgery, and continue to have a house with more than one floor. So that was awesome. Products bless. I never thought I'd get sick again. We moved actually to Canada a year after we started Relive, and I was under a tremendous amount of stress. There were a few things going on in our life that was very stressful, and I got Graves' disease. It was a disease, hyperthyroidism, that I had had early in my years, and the doctor gave me 6 months actually to live with that disease in my early 30s. And I really never thought I'd get sick again. Was very surprised, but I just, instead of going on medication or radiation or anything else, I decided to up my shakes. Instead of taking 2 shakes a day, I ended up taking 4 shakes a day. And in 2.5 weeks, I was symptom-free. And it just brought the importance back of when you are under stress, you just up your shakes and your body just needs more nutrients. And it helped me and my life. My husband's had help with cholesterol, and we've gone forward and been able to help a lot of people with a lot of situations and a lot of different health issues. And we're just so grateful. I just always say I just look forward to dying young, but at a very, very old age, just feeling good to the very end.
There you go. And you passed through menopause.
Yes, and that's been a huge blessing to be able to. I started getting hot flashes and night sweats, and I just added our soy essentials, and I've been able to just get through that with ease, and I'm feeling great. So I'm so grateful for these products.
Annette, thank you so much. I appreciate you joining us tonight.
Great. Thank you, Bill.
Thank you. Well, now we're heading up north to Massachusetts. A good friend of Patty and mine. We absolutely love Ron and Tippy Missick. It's such a joy they've brought into our life, and it's our pleasure to have Tippy share for us tonight. So, Tippy, we'd love you to do that.
Hey, Bill. How you doing?
Good.
Hi, everybody out there. I am so excited to be able to share. I've been on the product since 1999. I was actually diagnosed with Chrons disease, and the medications that they put me on made me very, very ill. I developed pneumonia and had it for 9 weeks. After about, 7.5, 8 weeks, I just couldn't stand being in bed anymore, and so I decided I was going to go and play tennis. So I called this tennis club up the street, And lo and behold, I dialed the wrong number, and I got the most amazing woman on the phone who talked to me about reliving Jesus. It was unbelievable. As a matter of fact, it's Bill's mom, who is now 94. And I am so grateful for that phone call. I immediately got someone to take me up to visit with her so I could get some of the product, and I started taking it right away. 2 shakes a day, just the classic and the Energize. And it was amazing how quickly I started to feel better from the pneumonia. My body started to heal very quickly. But what was really amazing for me was after 6 months of taking the product, that's why they say don't quit, don't, because you always get results. Just after 6 months of taking the Relive products, I went for a colonoscopy to determine the stage of my Crohn's disease. And to my surprise and the surprise of my gastroenterologist, I no longer had Crohn's disease. The only thing I did differently was taking the great nutrition from Relive. Food was actually my enemy. And so I knew that I had been given a great gift. Another thing that came along about 7 years ago, they had found a benign tumor in my small bowel right at the base of the stomach, and I was told I needed to have surgery to have it removed. So I had the surgery, and it went terribly wrong, which led to me having 5 surgeries, all open abdominal surgeries. So you can imagine my insides were pretty messed up. I couldn't eat. I was living on ice chips, and finally, after the 3rd surgery, we decided we're going to start giving me Relive, because the 5 surgeries were just in a very short period of time, within a year and a half. So we talked to my doctor, and she said absolutely. So my husband started injecting the Relive into my feeding tube, and the changes were unbelievable. Even the doctor couldn't believe it. So that was the first doctor, and then I had to have a 5th surgery, and I came back up to Massachusetts because I was scared to death to have another surgery down there in Florida. And I had the 5th surgery, and again, we put the Relive into my feeding tube, and I was out of the hospital in 10 days. The doctor said she couldn't believe it because she had plans for me to be in the hospital for 2 to 3 months, for me to then go to a rehab hospital for several months before I'd even be able to come home. So I know, and I praise God every day for sharing and giving me these Relive products.
That's awesome, Tippy.
I'm blessed.
Yes, we so appreciate you and rejoice with you and how this thing has turned your life around. Thank you so much for sharing for us tonight, Tippy.
Oh, I do have one more benefit that I did get from Relive. I found my husband.
Go ahead.
I found my husband.
Yes, that's a wonderful part of your story as well. Yes, you met Ron through Relive, and Patty and I got to be a part of that story as well. So, love you guys. Thanks for sharing.
Love you too.
Okay.
Bye. Good night, all.
Next, we're going over to Oklahoma, and Keisha Holder, we'd love you to come on and share some of what's happened for your family.
I would love to. Thank you, Bill. I tell you what, guys, I am being just so blessed listening to these stories. So thanks, Bill, for taking time out of your Sunday to do this for everyone. But like Bill was saying, my name is Keisha Holder. I live here in Enid, Oklahoma, and I was introduced to Relive 8 years ago by somebody from my church. I didn't think it was going to work, but I trusted her, and that was the only reason why I took a look at Relive. What I was dealing with was chronic sinus infections. I'd had the allergy shots, the sinus surgery, acupuncture, 4 different allergy prescription drugs every day, and antibiotics all year long. I was confined to my house. My husband said, Keisha, you'll never go to Walmart. You'll never go to the grocery store again. Your job is to stay inside and try to get better. I was doing that, but nothing was working. My immune system was crashing. We had 2. Our daughters were pre-teenage. I couldn't be the mom I wanted to be. I couldn't be the wife I wanted to be. It was a sad time in our life. So got started on Relive, and what ended up happening was no more sinus infections, off of the allergy prescription drugs, no more antibiotics. I have a totally different life now. I'm actually running half marathons, and I am not very young, but started running 3 years ago, did my first 5K, and thought, well, this is kind of fun. Let's continue on. And like I said, running the half marathons with a goal of running a half marathon in every state, actually going up to Alaska next month to run one up there. So totally different life. My whole family has gotten great results. Husband with joint pains, he couldn't wear his wedding ring because his joints were so swollen. And I don't know about you guys, but in my opinion, it's important for a hubby to wear a wedding ring. Our 2 daughters have gotten great results. PMS, a skin condition called molluscum, which is basically, it's caused by a virus, blisters on the skin, they itch and they spread like crazy. And Relive is taking care of my youngest daughter's molluscum. Both of my daughters went to school in Florida. That's a long ways from Oklahoma, to a school that doesn't have, or a college that doesn't have like breaks. So we don't see them until the semester is over. That's a lot of stress. And they have used these products to stay healthy, to be on the Dean's Honor Roll, and thriving immensely. So health results, this whole family has been highly blessed. But I did take a look at the business. I graduated college with an MBA, always wanted to own my own business. But when we started having children, I put that dream aside. Now with Relive, I can work it around the family. I can work it around the priorities of our life. And I absolutely love it. Earned a trip to Cancun that some of us in Relive took last month. So much fun. But I tell you what was so neat about that trip. One of the coolest things is a distributor of mine called me while we were in Mexico and was just so excited because her A1C and cholesterol, but her cholesterol went down 223 points, and her A1Cs were back in the normal range. Now, you don't get those phone calls in the corporate world, or at least I never did. And so I absolutely love this business because you can have a positive impact in people's lives, and it has just been so much fun.
That's awesome. Keisha, thank you. So appreciate you coming on and sharing some of what's happened for you guys, and we're just celebrating with you. Thanks so much.
You bet.
All right. Well, now we're heading over to South Carolina, and it's my pleasure to have with us tonight Bronze Ambassador Sheila Carcevar. Those of you who don't know what an ambassador is, it just basically means these guys have had some good results, but they've turned around and helped a lot of people. And Sheila, we'd love you to come on and share.
Well, hi, yes, and thanks for having me on. I am Sheila Carcevar. I live in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, and 20 years ago I was introduced to Relive, and at that time I was working 3 jobs. I was doing real estate and marketing and advertising for a bank mainly, and I just was completely exhausted all the time. I was sick all the time with colds and flus. I also was dealing with strep throat 8 to 10 times a year for 15 years. And even though I was already supplementing, taking handfuls of vitamins 3 to 4 times a day, I was still struggling with just not finding the balance, I guess, that I needed for my body. And things were starting to happen. My thyroid was, I had to have my thyroid radiated because it was actually hyperactive and my numbers were off the charts, and so I had to have it radiated, and so then put on medication, and they said that there were certain things that were going to stick with me for the rest of my life, like pressure behind my eyes and just struggling with working out and things like that, that I would have scar tissue still on my heart, that I wasn't going to be able to be very active, things like that. And I was introduced to Relive, and I actually because it was the business that I wanted, and I had been in 5 other home-based businesses at that time, looking for the freedom that you could have, that everyone told me that I could have. It's just that none of them had a product like this, and none of them had a compensation plan like this. So I was already in that mindset of wanting to find a home-based business. So when my sister picked up the phone and told me about this, I jumped in with both feet. I came in at the highest profit level, called Master Affiliate, and I got on the products at exactly the same time. And because of that decision, I was helping other people, so I was starting to earn an income as I was getting results myself. I noticed for me in the very beginning, focus and just concentration. I felt like someone had just flipped the light on. I felt more joy. I felt just, I don't know, I guess a fog lifted. And as time has gone on now, I've been 20 years without strep throat, not even one time. My doctors have actually decreased my thyroid medication 3 times in the past 4 years. And that's unheard of because I don't have a thyroid. It's been radiated, like I said, so they don't know if maybe something is growing back in there or not. And I have had so many other results. I'm going through menopause now. I turned 50 in October, and I have very few symptoms. And like someone else said that they started the Soy Essentials, I just add an extra scoop of Reverse Age, which is another one of our products, and that seems to help me with those hot flashes. And so there's so many things that continue to happen. The business brought me home from all 3 of those jobs within a year and a half of just carving out an hour a week. That's all the time I could carve out of my schedule in order to work this. But then I was able to quit all 3 of those jobs and come home. And then 13 years ago when I met and married my husband, he turned from skeptic to believer because of what these products did for him with the sleeping disorder and allergies and a whole lot of other things. And he retired from his college coaching career, and he came home to join me so that when we got married, we could be together. And now we have a daughter. She is 9 years old, and we have been able to be with her, not miss any of her firsts, and be there for all the just important events. And like Bill said, we became ambassadors, and we've been on many, many trips. We've earned 11 all-expense-paid trips and many bonuses, and earned up to $6,500 profit in a month. And this just really allows us to be able to bless other people. We volunteer at our daughter's school a lot, and we're there together, and the only parents that are able to be together are there all the time for the events and things like that. And I find myself taking pictures of my friends' children getting awards and things like that because they can't be there. And it speaks to them because people, these kids want their parents around. We have people, or the kids, coming to us quite often saying, how come you can always be here and have lunch with Sydney, and you can be here for the events, and my parents can never be here, and I want my parents here. So we've had people asking us, we've had people join us in the business and on the products because of it, and it's just been a blessing, and we just pay it forward by helping other people, and we will never quit.
There you go. It is paying it forward, and it's making a difference in a lot of people's lives. That's really what this whole Relive story is about. It's being a difference maker. So you've reached out and touched a lot of people's lives. So how does one do this Relive business, Sheila? How do you reach out and help people?
Well, one huge tip that I could say is to care more about the other person and their family or whatever it is that they're dealing with than you care about the sale or care about yourself or what you might get out of it. Really just care about other people, because so many people don't make a decision right away to do anything with Relive. Sometimes it takes 7 points of contact before you can even have someone make a decision. And you really have to care. I've had so many people say, oh, you know what, I've called that person 3 times and they haven't returned my call, or I've called them 3 times and they haven't said anything about, or they haven't even had time to watch the video that I sent. And I always say, you know what, people are busy. I mean, people are busy. They're scrambling around, trying to make ends meet, waking up tired, going to bed exhausted, having to do things for their family. People are busy, and people are scattered, and people don't eat right, and people are sick, and people are broke, and they have no idea that there's hope in these cans, that there's hope in this business, that there's hope with your phone call. They have no idea because there's so much stuff out there that they're bombarded by all these promises and all these things. And Relive is the real deal. And if we can just show people how much we care by sharing the reality with them, whether that's someone sharing their story on someone's voicemail, I do that quite often, and I have people that have called me weeks or months later saying, you know what, I saved that message, and I listened to it over and over and over, and that truth just really spoke to me, and now it's the right time. I mean, you just don't know. That's why, stop with the stoppers, stop with the people who aren't doing anything, run with the people that are grabbing you and saying, you gotta talk to my friends and family, and the people that are going to do this in the cracks of their life, help them do this too. I'm constantly meeting people, and I constantly have people coming back to me saying, are you still with that Relive? Because I need to get back on it. As a matter of fact, this morning at church, I was sitting with my daughter. They have these snacks that they have, and so I was sitting there while she was eating her snacks before we went in to the worship center, and someone that I had on the products probably 6 years ago came up to me, and she's in her 20s, and she came up to me and she said, Sheila, do you still have that, are you still with Relive? I said, yes, of course I am. And she said, well, do you have any of it at your house? She said, I have my own money now, and it's the only thing that really helped me, and I know that I need it, and I need to get back on it. And so I'm supposed to be calling her tomorrow to set her up and get her on the product. You just never know what's going to happen. But I do have people that come back to me, but I would just say don't quit on people. Just don't give up. I mean, unless someone says to you, point blank, do not call me again, ever. I never want to hear from you. Then keep calling because, they need to hear this hope, and they just have no idea what it is. They just don't. They need to hear the reality.
There's a lot of people hurting in this country with their health. There's a lot of people hurting with their finances. And Relive has answers, has real answers for people. We can't help everybody, but one of the neat things is we help a few people, and they turn around and help a few people. And before you know it, this multiplication process kicks in, and a lot of people's lives are being touched and influenced. As we were hearing through the calls, as we're hearing week after week after week, lives are being changed. And so, Sheila, thank you for joining us. Appreciate you being on with us tonight.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. I have one more guest for you tonight. It's a real pleasure for me to get to introduce you to Susan McConnell. She and her husband, Tom, are bronze ambassadors with Relive. Once again, this is a couple that have had some really good results with the product and have turned around and touched a lot of people's lives through the business side of it. Susan, we'd love you to share.
Oh, thank you again, Bill, for having this call. This is just a wonderful call that really is encouraging, even to me. Yes, I am Susan McConnell from a little town in Indiana, central Indiana, called Gaston, and we actually found Relive 20 years ago. And my husband was owner of his own business. He worked from the time he got up till the time he went to bed. I was a high school art teacher, and we both were stressed to the max. We both had health issues, and we were living paycheck to paycheck. We never took vacations. Our kids, I think we took one vacation all the time the kids were growing up. We never had time to do anything extra. It was just hoping we didn't have a crisis in our life. Then Tom hurt his back on the job and was diagnosed with a herniated disc. The doctor told him that he would need an operation to get out of pain, and he suffered for 3.5 years with that excruciating pain. He would come in at night and say, I almost sawed my leg off because the pain was so great, except I knew pain was coming from my back, and I'd just bleed to death. So he was praying to die, and on the other hand, I was praying to die because of the migraines that I was having. I had started having headaches when I was 10 years old. They were sinus headaches. but my whole family and about everybody I knew in Indiana had sinus headaches, so you just kind of learn to deal with those. But then in college, because I was working my way through, I began to develop tension headaches, and they didn't just go away when college was over. They continued, and by the time I was in my 50s, the sinus headaches and the tension headaches were turning into migraines. The migraines began to escalate till I was having 3-day migraines about once a week. In other words, 12 days out of the month I wasn't eating a bite. Then I also had serious pain in my hip, which was keeping me from resting at night. Well, that year when school started, I developed a cold that turned into bronchitis. I've never been a doctor person. I've always believed in nutrition. I was on 90 vitamins and minerals and herbs a day, trying to just put some nutrition in my body since I wasn't eating. Well, I finally went to the doctor thinking I had pneumonia. He diagnosed me with bronchitis and said, I can help you. Well, the first antibiotic didn't work, and when I went back, he gave me the second one, but he made a big mistake. He said, let's try this. And I was a little offended. I thought, you don't know what to do to help me? You are just using me as a guinea pig? Okay, I'll try this last antibiotic, but it didn't work. And at that point in time, I knew I had to take charge of my own health. Well, I found the doctor that had been a medical doctor for 15 years and then got into alternative medicine because he wanted to help people get healthy. Went to see him as soon as school was out that year. He shared Relive with me, told me his story of his wife and lupus, how that was an autoimmune deficiency. And by that time, I realized that's where my problem was, that my immune system was not working properly. And so that encouraged me. And so before I walked out of his office, he said, by the way, there's a business involved. Would you like to take a look at it? Well, my husband and I had been involved in several network marketing companies because we thought this is a way that we can get out of this rut that we're in. But they never worked. We ended up in debt, more in debt than making money. So we vowed that we would never get into another network marketing company because we knew we'd be tempted, because we believe in the concept. We knew that Harvard Business School recommends that their graduates find a good network marketing. So we knew it was something that we wanted to do, but we were both too sick. And we were, like I said, just broke. So I told the doctor no, came home, started taking the product like he told me. And in that first month, my immune system was healthy. And that was evident because 3 times cold symptoms tried to attack my body, and in just hours, it was gone. That told me that this product was working. And then by the end of the second month, I had my last migraine headache in 20 years. It was a 2-day instead of a 3-day migraine. Very mild, and the only reason I remembered is because I went to my husband and said, I had a migraine, but it wasn't like the ones I had been having. It was the mildest one I've ever had, and if that's all this product does is take the edge off my migraines, I will never be off. Well, I've never had another one since. The arthritic hip pain that I had was gone. Energy kicked in. I felt like a child. And by that time, I was thinking, now all of the things that I thought were unhealthy are healthy, and this is an incredible product. And knowing by that time that it had a money-back guarantee, it had patents on it, it was just food, everybody needed it, I thought, and this probably got a good business involved, so I'm going to take a look at it. Well, I went to a meeting without telling my husband, came home a distributor, but I just did a quick start because I didn't have any money, but I did have a 0% credit card. I thought I can just sell this product since it's a no-brainer and people are going to want it, and then I'll just pay that off. Well, in 10 days while I was teaching, that product was gone. So I used that same credit card to come in as master affiliate that very same month. Well, my husband found out when he saw the boxes on the back of the porch. He met me at the car and walked me up to the porch and said, what is all this? And I said, don't worry, honey, I'll take care of it. And I thought, now he can't help me anyway. It's going to have to be my business. So in order to prove to him and to prove to myself that I could do this, which, by the way, was a very good motivation, I began to work very hard. My goal was just to talk to 3 people a day. Keep in mind, I'm working full-time, and I still have all the responsibilities of the home, so I was pretty busy. And I didn't always make those 3 a day, but that was my goal, Well, by the end of the month, I had found several business partners, and we had moved $24,000 worth of retail volume in our group. And because of that, the company paid me a $1,500 bonus for being ninth in the nation. It pushed me up to key director, which was another $500. And then in all forms of income, it was $3,700. Well, when those checks came in the next month, and I'm showing Tom 3 checks from Relive, none of them less than $500, he began to ask me, he said, "Did you put my name on the application?" And I was so glad to hear that. I think he had just started the product. He hadn't gotten his results by that time. But when I offered him the products and said, "Here, this is going to help your back," he laughed at me and said, "No, Susan, I've watched you on those supplements, and they never do anything. But I do have to agree, it did help your migraines." So I made it a pact with him. I said, "If I mix these, will you take them?" And he said, "Yes, but you're wasting your time and your money." Well, in 6 weeks, his back pain left. It's never come back. That's been 20 years ago. He also had some gastric reflux, and that left. He has energy. We are now getting up there in age, and we just feel so much better than our colleagues and our friends that are our age. We absolutely love it. And then we continue to do the business. Tom began to help me, and by the end of 2 years, I realized that Relive was reality and that I could make more than I did in my teaching career. So I took early retirement, and we still laugh about that. And the other day, Tom was telling somebody, I didn't think Susan would ever retire. I loved what I did. But you know what? I loved Relive more because with Relive, you could see the results, and almost immediately. In teaching, you weren't always sure you were making a difference. But in Relive, you were making a difference for people and giving them hope in a hopeless world. It was fun, it was exciting, and so after just another year and a half, I'd replaced my 32-year teaching career salary by about $12,000, making $48,000 a year. Now that's not much in this day and age, but 20 years ago, that was a lot of money. I never thought I'd come close to making $50,000 for a year. But keep in mind, that was all part-time. I was enjoying life. I was realizing some of my dreams to travel. I'd always wanted to pick up my violin again that I had to put down when I was a sophomore in high school. And I did. I was able, because of Relive, I had the time, the money. I was able to pick it up, take lessons, join a community orchestra. We actually helped start a community orchestra. And I played in that for 10 years. I've also enjoyed playing and being with my grandkids. I didn't get to spend much time with my own children, but that's been a different story with my grandkids. And another big advantage to Relive is that I don't have to worry when I go to the grocery store, am I going to have enough money to buy just the necessities? I can buy the other things that I always wanted to buy. I love to cook, but I could never afford some of the ingredients that I needed. So it's given me little blessings like that. Plus, I don't have to panic if a furnace breaks down or we need something, a new piece of equipment for in the house, like a tub or a toilet. It's just not, the crisis is gone, and life is just so wonderful. It's more like we dreamed it would be, and here we are retired and just having a good life. So I just absolutely love Relive, and I'm just so thankful that the Lord brought it my way. So that's my story, Bill.
Absolutely, and it's a wonderful one. And you've made a difference in a lot of people's lives, and the checks of the heart are huge. You had an opportunity to reach out to Bob and Kathy Bloom, and Kathy had some pretty serious issues and saw some life-changing results, and you got to be a part of that. Yes,
and that's where the fun is in Relive, to watch people's lives, people that doctors have given up on. We have several people that had myasthenia gravis that just had out of hope and didn't know how much longer they were going to live. That's when you really realize that you are doing a good thing in this world. You're making a difference, just like Dr. Kalopris. Yeah. And I love just carrying on his vision. In fact, I was just figuring the other day, I have 14 Dr. Teds, and that's just such an honor to be able to help him with his mission.
Absolutely. Yeah, Relive has a humanitarian program which is absolutely enormous, feeding over 42,000 pretty much all children every single day. And wow, life-changing things are happening not only with the marketing side of it, but on the humanitarian side of it as well. Susan, thank you so much. I appreciate you joining us and sharing part of your story tonight. Thanks.
You're welcome.
All right, everyone, we're going to wrap up there for tonight. I want to thank everyone who shared another powerful call. I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording at this point, and we'll come back. We'll share the call information for those who'd like to return to this call or any of the other ones. You'll be able to